All right. So, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm Peel Stewart. Um, I This is Six Elementals. I said a very special Saturday. Two brilliant authors that I'm getting the privilege of speaking to today. Earlier on, we had the awesome Michael Michelle, and now I get to chat with a fellow Canuck, brilliant author who I've had the privilege of reading her the first two books in her series. Sorry, I should have switched those around here. It's the first one backwards, but forgive the pronunciation. So, Guardians of the Well of Firestone. That's the top,
Sounds
right?
about
Okay.
right.
Okay. So, Guardians of the Well of Firestone. I read the first two. Looking very much forward to reading the third one, which I is coming soon. But obviously, we're going to talk about that. So today, I'm joined by the amazing Trinity Cunningham. How are you today, Trinity?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm thanks for having me here. It's great.
Well, thanks so much for coming out. Now, we were talking a bit backstage, and we were talking a bit. One of the things that we backstage before we came on, we talked about was the fact that you know you, part of the challenge, especially as an indie author, is because there's amazing indie books coming out every day, and sometimes there's that pressure, and real or imagined, depending, what your goals are in terms of sales and things like that. That being on a rapid release schedule seems to help drive sales and interest in the series, and that sometimes the hardest thing is just simply getting the book a year or two so that you can keep up with all the amazing other books that are coming out and not get lost kind of in the shuffle. So, but you've published fairly quickly. Um, can you tell us a bit about your publishing journey and how that's been going?
hmm So I started, I guess, in 2020 was when I started writing, and I had the whole trilogy kind of in my head, and I had planned it out and written like the really, really rough drafts. And then in 2023 was when I published Bloodbound. I had worked with an editor, and she was fantastic, and we just kind of hashed it out and got it to what it is today. And it made me rethink everything with the whole trilogy that I had already drafted. So I had written the second book, and I made a lot of changes based on the first book and how it would line up still. And all the while, like in my head, I actually didn't know if I was going to make it a trilogy. In my head, I was like, I had written that third book as a draft and had it there. It was kind of my basis for maintaining this structure of this is the history, this is what happens, like that back, like lots of stuff that needed to happen, sort of thing. It was still something that I had debated for a while if I would write the third one because I knew it was going to be a challenge to do that. But I'm really glad I did. I got around to it, and it was a whole complete rewrite. My first draft was like non-existent, basically. This was really a whole rewrite, and it was a challenge. I knew it would be, but I got through it, and I'm really proud of myself for that. I got this whole trilogy now after it was a year apart, so 2023, 2024. Oh no, and then I skipped 2025, but
Okay, so well, first of all, congratulations. So just to clarify, book three is coming out this year in 2026.
yeah, April next month, April 25th.
Oh,
I,
congratulations!
I'm a Miss Congeniality fan, and it was like, what's the perfect date? It's like, well, it's a memorable date, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's a trilogy, and so quickly for those of you who perhaps haven't read this awesome author, and like I said, we're going to get into more of the nitty gritty uh, as we continue to talk in this conversation. What is this series all about?
Ultimately, it's about this stone that indwells the life of this country, Kartha, and it's this country with magic, and is either like people are fascinated by the country and want to explore this magic, or they're like stay away from it. There's sorcery there, kind of thing. So it's like kind of it's a very small country. Like it's one of the smallest countries in this continent, and it's basically, yeah, the stone that's magical that indwells the life, and if anything were to happen to it, it's a very pure kind of magic. So it's if it was corrupted in any way, or something were to happen to it, or were to be stolen, it would affect the land itself, and basically everything would die. So we've got these guardians who are charged with protecting it.
Yeah, and Thank you for that summary. And again, these books, this series is so well done. One of the things I loved, again, we're talking about the backstage, is that, and there are dark parts to these books, but overall, I would say it's a very hopeful tone. You have a lot of characters who are nominally really good people. Yes, there's some people that are questionable and some that are perhaps more on the evil spectrum, but for the most part, I think a lot of the characters I'd classify them as likable, as positive, and that the tone, despite the dark parts, and like I said, I think for me, the dark parts were extremely effective and well done, maybe because there was, so there were other characters were also positive and there's so much hope, etc., and they were so good. Was that your intent to write that type of series? And for the darker parts, where did that turn come in to put those parts in a series that seemed more upbeat and hopeful in general?
I wouldn't say it was always like, so when I started, it was kind of, I don't know how to put it. It was like on a whim. I started on a whim, and just didn't really have a whole plan. I mean, I did when I did have a plan, but when I'd started, it was literally like I'm sitting down at my computer and I just started typing, and there was no outline, no plot, no anything. I just always had these twins in my head, and this was the story, and they were involved. I love Chosen One, but I was like, I don't want to do your typical Chosen One. I wanted to kind of like play on this new concept of he's not necessarily a chosen one, but there's two of them. So it was, when it came to like the darker parts, I don't know. I guess I just like certain things came out in their characters naturally as I wrote them, and whichever characters, like, they really took a life of their own. A lot of the characters just came alive on the pages, and I just wrote it down. I just did my job.
Well, it turned out really well. One of the things I absolutely loved about this series is that, and of course I've only read the first two books, is that it explores multiple generations of the same family. And, so the focus shifts from the first book to the second book into a different main character, but still part of the same family. Was that something, again, I know you said that perhaps it wasn't all planned out to that degree, but was that something you thought about incorporating in your writing, that you want to write a multi-generational series like with characters from the same family?
I think so. I knew that the twins were a story to themselves. And then when I was writing Unbound, I wasn't sure if it would be the son or the grandson. Like, I knew it would be a different generation. I knew it wouldn't be them. And same with the third book. Like, I already knew that would be, like, that's prior to its prequel. So the first Guardian. But I love, like, generational things. I love family ties, and where there's, like, Luke, I'm your father kind of stuff. Like, I love that kind of stuff. So I guess it just kind of, like, came naturally in the story, and once it, my character and what I love shows through, I guess.
Yeah, well, again, I absolutely love that part. There was a deep sense of connection between the characters, and obviously they had those familial ties and a lot of caring and love, but challenges, and like all families, having their differences, and differences especially about how they approached magic, and how magic should be dealt with. So that certainly, and it was fascinating to see the changes in some of the characters and their thought process as they got older in the second book. Looking back on, and you always ask yourself, like, would they have done the same things in hindsight, considering where things were in the second book, the characters that appeared in the first book that were much older, some of the grandparents. So I found that fascinating. Is a sense of family dynamic, is that, when we talk about generational stuff, is that something that you really want to convey in these books?
I think unintentionally. It's one of those, like, subconscious level things that, like, hindsight, looking back, oh yeah, that makes sense for me. Like, just didn't really think of it in the moment.
Well, it certainly, like I said, it came off really well. One other theme that really came off for me in these books was, there's that element of secrets and secrecy, and what they can do to heal or to harm in a way. So you have, for example, secrets between siblings. One who kind of, doesn't really always play the straight and narrow and kind of gets their other sibling in trouble all the time because
Yeah.
they keep things for them and they seem much more impulsive and impetuous, and the other sibling is more grounded and a family person, and the other sibling always like the sibling that's more grounded, more family person, less impetuous, knows that their sibling has a habit of getting them all in trouble. But because they love them and support them, they go along with it, knowing that this isn't going to end well, but they do it anyways. So so I'm wondering, I couldn't help but asking, is there any people in your real life, without giving away names, perhaps based on yourself, or like, I love that sibling dynamic. Where did that come from? Anywhere,
Um,
potentially?
I'm a sibling of four. We're four of us, and there's definitely those back and forth where it's like I love this idea where it's like we grow up in the same house and with the same parents. Like there's nothing like essentially on the grand scale different in our upbringing, yet we are such different people. And like my brothers go off in this direction, my sister goes in this, and we're all over the place. And it's just like, but we're still family and we still love each other and we still got each other's backs. And it's just like I love that idea of real life where it's like, it's such a complicated relationship, the sibling relationship, the family dynamic. It's and even with parents, right? Like how sometimes we don't always agree with our parents, but
Yeah.
we love them, and we're like, how do you balance that act of I love you, I don't agree with you? Like it's a great example of like real life, because sometimes there's those people that we come across, but they're not family. We don't have to always be there with them and do family activities, but it's really an interesting just dynamic in general, that sibling family ties. So I'd say
Yeah.
there's lots of inspiration from my own upbringing.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And like I said, it was exceptionally well done. And then you have, and again, it's always hard to talk about awesome books like this because then you never want to spoil it whatsoever for the audience, potential readers. So a scenario, shall we say, where um, parentage is being hidden, shall we say? So the parentage is being hidden, and so when it comes to light, there's some negative connotations surrounding the whole thing. As well, you have a situation where one character who's more of the Machiavellian character, their offspring is kind of struggling to find their own way as a leader. Their parent is definitely a leader and potentially like an oppressor, and you're not sure where that child's going to wind up based on their upbringing, but they're forced to make these decisions, and they make some pretty drastic decisions. That's one of the things that really took me by surprise, especially with that plot line. In the end, that was like, wow, but one of the themes I saw as well was, and I saw it carried over to the second book, is when you have those disagreements with your parents or your grandparents about how to live your life, how to do things, like it can be challenging, right? Like, because this is your elder, someone who quote unquote been there, done that, knows, supposed to know better, maybe trying to for your own sake steer you in a certain direction because they think that's what's good for you. Is that another dynamic that you want to explore?
I think so, a little bit. I like it again when I watch stories. It's like you see how like how do people do try to steer their children, or like somebody that they would see as like their um, I don't know what the word would be, like mentee kind of thing. Um, but like how that could really blow up in your face and go either way. Like it really could be like, I resent you and I'm going to do everything the opposite because of, or you follow along, but then you're not yourself. You're suppressing your own character and who you are meant to be because you're following in somebody else's dream or plan for your life.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, I found that really was one of the themes in this series so far that I read that really impacted me. And I thought it was, again, really well done, as it was everything in the book. There was also the element of, I found, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like a classic culture's misunderstanding of perhaps uh, another culture and coming with certain misconceptions and beliefs, and also, potentially, somewhat of a being willing to dominate another culture or repress that culture. So where did that element come from? Again, I'm trying to dance around it. You obviously have to know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about,
I know what you're talking about.
for the audience, where did that fit into a theme that you were looking to expand on?
I guess unity would be like this whole concept of the guardian of the well of firestone is to bring unity to the land, to the people. It's a whole like, so in order for that to be like an issue at all, there's always got to be those dynamics of people who are against each other in whatever concept. So we have like the elder race, the magical people, and the Mayanon, the non-magical. Like, like that would be like you'd have these clashing of peoples, and like um, to bring unity to that would be a challenge for a person, but it adds that extra layer of conflict. But I love this idea of unity and healing and in a land and a wholeness and bringing everyone together. We're one big happy family. I sound like such a hippie.
No, it's wonderful. And like I said, it was the way you portrayed it with such skill that, again, it's, as we talked about before we came on, like, I think for me, I'm so used to reading and being drawn, like I said, maybe something wrong with me, the grimdark, the really ultra dark stuff. But this, perhaps it was like a breath of fresh air, a reset, a palate cleanser in a way, that this was far more hopeful despite the dark stuff. And it's not nihilistic, right? It's not like, like some of the stuff I read is pretty, nihilistic, right? But this wasn't that, right? And I already talked about some of the themes, like the family aspects and all that. There's also a, kind of a, the aspect of, passing of the torch in all that, right? So, and that, I mean, it's one thing to entrust something like the stone to, someone who's not your family, a noble, if you're not a noble character, a noble, when I say noble, nobility, I mean aristocracy, like that, or a warrior that if you're not, or, like it's one thing to do that. But what I think, and what I'm getting at, what was really well done is like you have characters that don't fight well in
Yeah.
right? They're not your typical, hero in terms of their martial prowess, right? And I thought that was really well done because really it was very realistic because, clearly, I mean, if you haven't been raised a certain way, when you haven't trained for something, you're not suddenly become the greatest fighter or swords person in the world. So what was that something you purposely wanted to, again, illustrate in the book?
A little bit, yeah. I like that fish out of water. I mean, I've also like, as somebody who is a Star Wars fan, when they like, you got Ray, who's just like good at everything, and how it drives people crazy. And I'm like, okay, so like not good at everything. We've got to have flaws. People have flaws. And for myself, it's like if I think about how I live my life, as much as I would love to like be this super skilled martial combat, like, be able to like go and do these things, it's not realistic to just jump in and be good at it. You like it's a series of time of building, training, muscle memory, and all these things. Like, so I think that's definitely having that character just have to grow in that. And for the like for magic, sometimes like certain things for certain people can come as an instinctive thing. Like some people can just be good at things naturally, but it's not super common and depends on what it is and who.
Yeah, and again, I think that for me, that's a sign of a skilled writer because that realistic element. Like I said, I'm always looking for that gritty, that realism. That for me was, although again it wasn't ultra dark, I saw that you definitely you made a conscious effort of incorporating that realism into that, which especially when you have characters that, for me, and this is my opinion, I'd love to hear what you think, when are mostly good. So it's like, okay, they're mostly good and they're at everything and they're good at everything, and then it just like again I think it detracts sometimes potentially from the realism, especially when you're dealing with quote unquote good or noble characters. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Characters who have like this high moral ground kind of thing and stick to it, where like lots of people in real life, like, we have our morals where we stand, but it's hard to stick to. And these characters are, yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and characters who, and again, like I actually was talking about this a bit with Michael Michelle prior to this broadcast, in that, it's one thing when you have a noble character that, obviously they'd be, someone who would have an aversion to harming people or killing unless they were forced into that situation. And then they go out and slaughter 100 people, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, so what's for dinner now, right? Like, that there's no trauma, there's no, they don't feel the weight and the burden of their actions, and that they don't balk at what they're doing. And like, you did that so well too, that, the characters don't just, get into violent situations and they're not just unaffected, like, oh, well, okay, now I'll just, like, that doesn't happen, right? So I think that's really, that's really important that, like, was that also something that you wanted, that, like, the consequences, the price that these characters paid for, was that also something you want to?
Definitely, consequences and choices are, it is actually, that was a very conscious theme that I tried to, like, think of with your actions have consequences one way or another, whatever, like good or bad, mentally, physically, whatever, like we're affected by the choices we make, whatever those choices are.
Yeah.
So it's that concept. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that was really well done. What are some of your influences? You talked about Star Wars, like, so when you were, so young Trinity, growing up reading fantasy, if you read it, or science fiction, or watching movies or whatever, what are some of the influence and things that have gone into creating these books?
Well, The Matrix was always a favorite. That one, just like that whole, like, I don't know, it's really a really cool concept that when it came out, and I love those kind of mind blowing where you're like, what? I loved X-Men. I'd say that's probably had some influence in this kind of people with power, that going on. I read a lot of spy thrillers. I read a lot of like action and mystery, those kind of books. I loved watching sci-fi. I didn't read a ton of sci-fi, but I loved watching them. And like fantasy as well, like Lord of the Rings. Love Lord of the Rings. I didn't actually read. I tried to read the books when I was much younger, but I think I messed up when I started with the third one, not realizing it was the first, and it totally threw me. It was like, I tried to be a fan earlier. I couldn't. I screwed it up. So now I'm on the third one after having read 1 and 2. But it's like, this is my first time actually reading them. But yeah, lots of influences in that regard, and then just real life, like going through. I guess, like, for the themes in the story, I touched a lot on overcoming fear, and as myself, I've suffered like severe anxiety since I was like 10, and just like having to overcome these hurdles and knowing what it's like to have these fears, sometimes super irrational, and they're irrational, but like that whole, like, beating it, you want to see characters who can beat that and come on the other side and grow from it. And I wanted to be that character when I was younger, so it's a lot of that was an influence as well.
Well, I'm sorry for that. Clearly, you're thriving and doing well, and nothing it's not without challenges. But yeah, so kudos for doing so well and so successful with that as one of the challenges. Do you have any particular favorite authors, or and especially in terms of how it is, you especially in the indie world, a lot of what we do is in terms of like trying to stoke interest and make people understand what it's about. We like to do comps. So in other words, if you like your book, you would like this series or this author. So do you have any specific, first of all, one, do you have any specific author inspirations that may have gone into this book? And two, do you have any favorite like any comparables? Any, like, if you like Guardians of the World Firestone, you might, if you like this book, you might like your series.
Right. I wouldn't say that any particular book inspired like the idea behind that. That was an idea that I'd had since I was quite young, and I couldn't actually say. I had a dream, actually. A dream kind of inspired the concept, the idea that started it all, and then like from there I grew it, I guess, just from general inspirations around me, but comparably. I'd say like I haven't read the Shannara Chronicle books, but there was a TV series that came out, and there was like so many similarities in the show, and I was like, if I haven't, I have to read the book still because I would love to know it, like what similarities there are. But I definitely saw some like really close things that I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, but I did write this before I ever knew that. It's not like I was like that's kind of what it felt like, and a little bit like not in the same, not anything like Shadow and Bone, but at the same time, I felt like there was a kind of similar vibe, if that makes sense. It wasn't like there's no similarities as far as like it's a totally different world and concept, but I guess it's that good versus evil, light versus dark with this magic that's good, magic that's, um, I'd say there's some similar vibes to Shadow and Bone. Those two kind of stand out in my mind, but I haven't really like if I look for comparable stories, I kind of go to my Goodreads and it's like people who like this also like this, and I'm like, okay, I gotta check that out to see.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't read Shadow and Bone, but I watched a bit of the TV series with my wife, with Deb. So of course, sometimes the TV adaptation is really different from the book. I don't know how much different it is from the book, but okay, so I'm getting that. But that definitely, gets to me. I've actually seen it, so it makes sense. So and it's funny that you say like, so for me, the Shannara books, I read when I was very, very young. Like I must have been a teenager, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
I had the privilege of meeting Terry Brooks at Worldcon in Seattle. So that was a real treat, real highlight. I got
That'd be
some
so cool.
pics with him. Wonderful gentleman. So, but anyways, it's funny that you say specifically the Shannara stuff because, and clearly yours is original and you didn't read it. It's not like it inspired you, but it's funny how like I remember when a lot of people said, oh well, Zoro Shannara, it's just, it's kind of it's so close to like Wheel of Time, and
Right.
it's not that original or whatever. But I think also it was written at a time where authors were looking to replicate certain really popular fantasy series because there's only so many that were like the huge bestsellers, and Wheel of Time was that benchmark series that everybody wanted to like replicate, right? So, but it's funny how unintentionally, especially if you read a series, you can wind up being potentially influenced as an author and want to create something very similar, which there's nothing wrong with, but it's just
Yeah.
funny how that happens, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. But so right now, maybe we could talk about your actual publication journey and your how your writings fit into your publication future and where you're going. So, first of all, perhaps I can ask you. So you had this great idea for a story, kind of, one day you thought, okay, I'm going to write a book. But when it comes to publishing, did you think about going the traditional publishing route? Did you always think indie? What was your thought process going into all of that?
I had started writing Bloodbound, and it was about halfway through writing the first draft when I'd started to kind of think about what I was going to do with it. I knew I wanted to publish it. I knew I wanted to do something with it and not just sit on it because I'd written screenplays in the past that I like when I studied screenwriting, and I had done this thing of writing but never doing anything with it, and just like it was like, what did I do that for? So I kind of already had it in my head that it's like, well, it's not just to sit on and do nothing with. I want to do something with it. I just don't know what. I took a storytelling course. It was like a 3-part course that involved like storytelling itself, and then also like marketing and traditional stuff, whatever. It just kind of had a little bit of marketing on it, and what was the other part of it? Now editing. I had the opportunity to work with an editor as well, and not my same editor. It was just parts like somebody who I actually admire, and I really like. One of my favorite books is written by her and this guy who runs this program, and I was just like, I would love to do something with it. The editor was talking about like, yeah, you would go to these conferences and meet these people, and I'm like, wait, I don't understand. Like, I did not get where it was going, how this was leading to like publishing. So then I learned that I didn't even know there was a difference between traditional and indie publishing. I was that new. So I kind of pretty quickly decided that I wanted to self-publish because where most people do well with pressure, I don't do well with pressure. And so I figured, you know what, I'm a stay-at-home mom right now. I've got my three littles all at home. I was homeschooling for the first few years of their lives, like of their school years, I should say, their education. And it just meant that I did not have time to meet requirements of deadlines if there were to be any. So I just decided at that point that I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to find an editor, and I did. I was really lucky to find who I work with now through Facebook. It was really random, but she's yeah, she's come to be like somebody that I consider as a friend now, like over the years of working with her. Yeah, and yeah, it was just kind of I didn't. I went in naive, not knowing, and then just deciding that traditional wasn't for me, at least at that particular time. I would love to get the experience of traditional publishing just to like have a full rounded experience, and like if I was going to talk publishing routes with people and make suggestions, I'd have an opinion on all. But it's right now just self indie, and I love it because the community is just like, I love this. This is where it's at.
I can't beat the community. I mean, obviously, there's amazing traditional publishing authors out there that are accessible, and they're part of the overall writing community, and they very much, you know, they have friends that are indie authors, and we're all obviously part of, again, a bigger community. And I think those communities are commingling more than ever before. And I think traditionally published authors are obviously, because of changes to the industry, I thought it would be more accessible. They're also doing so much more of their own marketing, and you know, and a lot of them are trying different venues. Some of them are having now self-published series, exclusively self-published, and they're doing hybrid publishing series that are hybrid published. And the industry is really changing really rapidly.
It is. Yeah.
So, you know, it'd be interesting to see, like for example, you know, an awesome author like you, what you do next in terms of your next project or your next series, or do you have definitive plans now that you're wrapping up this series to do another series soon, or standalones, or what? Do you have what you can tell us? You mean, not asking you to divulge all the trade secrets, but just what you know, what you can tell us.
Yeah. So after I publish Inherent Bound, I'm writing a short story. I'm writing a few short stories, and I have this plan to do almost like a trilogy of short stories that are prequel leading into. I have a sci-fi story that I've had for years. It's like one of the first stories I ever thought of, and a lot of the like origin of how this character gets to have this ability, we'll call it, doesn't come into play. You just see him smack in the middle of his life, and like, so I wrote a short story for his origin of how he came to be like this. And then I wanted to do like time jumps. So like he's like 12 years old in this first origin. This is when it happens. And then like years later, he's learned to adapt and adjust with this thing. And then like possibly a third one where there's this kind of like a kind of a thinking of his course of where he's going to end up now from here. And then the novel will be like this progression of growth with, I can't give it all away. I can't say too much, but I think I might have before. It's a fun idea that I'm really excited to try, and this idea of doing these 3 short story origin leading into the novel, I think would be a really cool way to get interest and like, you know, from readers, but also for me to really get a feel for this character as well and grow into him before I actually write the novel.
Oh, well, it sounds amazing, and thanks so much for giving us a little sneak peek into that. That makes me excited that I'll get to read that some sci-fi from you in the future. So that sounds fascinating. Do you think so? Clearly, you're able and willing to write in other subgenres and genres. Do you think you'll write anything else? Like you said, you used to read a lot of thrillers and mystery. Do you think you'll write, you know, anything outside of science fiction and fantasy one day? Like,
I would love to write a spy thriller. I just finished the Slow Horses books and I love them. I love them. And just like, and Robert Ludlum, and like, oh, there's other authors that I can't think of the name right now. But like just all that really gritty MI5, MI6.
yeah.
Like I love like England spy specifically. Oops.
Oh, that's awesome. Yep.
So I think
Sorry, you're just fading there a bit, Trinity. I wasn't sure if it's the Bluetooth. There you are. Okay. I think you're back now. No problem. No, I
Sorry, I
think
don't
you're
know if
back
that's
now.
my
No,
connection.
no. Oh no, don't apologize. You're back now. You're back now. So that's awesome. So we might see thrillers from Cunningham in the future. That'd be amazing. Um, so can you tell us in terms of, and you're an indie author, you talked about the community. That's one of the positives. That's, what are some of the other positives and some of the challenges that you find being an indie author?
Other positives are like just having the freedom, the independence to do like my own ideas, run with them, and not have to like kind of stick to or adhere to a certain either time frame or concept in a story or include this. People love this. It's like I know that like we write to a market to a degree, but at the same time, I like to really stay true to the story. And if it needs to veer for whatever reason, at least I'll feel like it's an authentic veering rather than I was told to do this sort of thing. I don't know how it works. I don't know if that's like a thing, but in my head, I'm just like, I would have a lot of like I have a lot of creative freedom with where I'm at. Some of the challenges though are that, I'm my own publisher, my own marketer, my own designer, like all these things where it's like, and this month, I should say, has been just like a little bit stressful getting my edits back for copy edit and then like editing, proofreading, and trying to get it up onto Ingram. Like I'm trying to like publish it there early enough so that the bookstore can buy it because I have a book launch coming up. But it was just like, it's taking a really long time and I'm stressing and I'm like, I didn't like give myself enough time because I didn't think this through. So lots of little challenges like that, but
But clearly you're again, you're still thriving and you're working through them, and
I don't know if I'm if it's whatever, but
oh yeah, sorry, I think it might be, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I think you're back now, so yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, and again, you're thriving. You have this great series. You're working through the challenges. So one of the things I also want to ask you, and it can't help but doing this, and it's not and this hey, this isn't to start rivalries. We're all one big happy writing family internationally, no matter where you are and where you come from. But I think that I'm going to make my hot take on writing in general, indie writing, on traditional published writer, is that Canadian writers are at times. I mean, people aren't even sure that the writer's Canadian, and not that the background particularly matters in general, but I think Canadian writers, are somewhat underrated, and there's a lot of incredible Canadian indie and traditionally published authors out there, especially in the traditionally published sphere. You have the Margaret Atwoods, and you have this R. Scott Backers and the Guy Gavriel Kays, and so. Do you read a lot of specifically Canadian authors when it comes to science fiction and fantasy?
I don't usually pay attention myself, except if they're local to like for yourself. When I learned that you're, I'm like, yeah, so a fellow Canadian author. and then like other friends who I've connected from the same place. I have a lot of like my community here that I've met like in my city who are authors. I'm doing events and vending events and whatever. So I've managed to like connect with them, and I like a lot of them. I have their books and I've read a lot of them. I have to get to a lot of them. So I'm really slow with like where I'm at reading wise right now. But yeah, it's I do find that there's like a little bit of that kinship when I find fellow Canadian authors. But if I'm looking for if I'm reading something, I don't really totally pay attention.
Of course.
Otherwise.
No, absolutely, and that's where I was getting that is that I probably went about it too roundabout of a way, but just finding that kinship with fellow Canadian authors, finding that we're all like again part of a huge international group of writers and poets and editors and agents and everyone in the writing community, booktubers, we're all together. It doesn't matter what nationality we are, where we come from, our background. But all the saying that is, it is nice to know that there's a strong Canadian contingent out there of authors, both indie and traditionally published. And we're proud and we're representing, man. So don't sleep on Canada is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
and in that, even just regionally. So, for example, I was born and raised in the Toronto area, the big city in terms of Canada. Can you talk a bit about because you're out in the prairie areas, if I'm not mistaken, and is that right? You're on the prairies, and so what was the book scene like growing up? What's the fantasy scene like out there in terms of conventions and different things that you can get involved in the community? What's it like out there?
Like for like other authors as well, like here.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
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 It's good. Like I've met so many friends who are authors and connected with a lot, and we're all like kind of in the same boat. A lot of us are like that I know that I've met are independently published as well, and all just kind of going around. Like I've a few of them have become good friends because we've connected through this medium of writing and books, and I've gotten together with a few of them to do like writing with them. And I don't know, I just feel like we're our own little community, and I've wanted to start my own little club and be like, hey, let's have a little like critique group of all of us authors that are from here, because I love community. I love connecting personally as well. Like I love that I connected with so many people on Discord, like through these places, but there's something to be said for in person as well. And it's cool when I've met people who are close here that I could connect with.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. That's one of my favorite parts about the community is the connection and us boosting each other and just providing support. And that's one of the really amazing things about being an author, especially being an independent author. So that's absolutely awesome. Trinity, do you have any, you've published 2 books, you're about to publish a third. Do you have any particular writing advice that you'd like to pass along to people who are just about to get into, the game and aspire to be where you are? Trinity, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if did you. Okay, no problem. Did you catch the question?
Oh, advice writers starting?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I caught the end of the question or somewhere around there. Yeah. I'd say just, don't think too hard about it and just write, because that's where it all starts. And that's ultimately at the end of the day, we're writers. Like if you want to become an author, want to become be a writer, that's the key to it, is writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we're winding down, do you mind providing, first of all, where we can buy all your amazing books, where all your social media platforms are, like where you're most active and things like that for the audience?
The simplest answer is my website, trinitycunningham.ca, because from there, basically, if you click any of the socials, on I'm most active in Discord.
Okay, fabulous.
Did
Yeah, I did catch that. Yep. No, we caught that. I caught that.
Sorry,
apologies, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, we did. Apologies about the connection. I'm not sure if it could be me for all we know. I'm not sure, but it's a bit unstable, but that's okay.
I'm in the prairies in the country,
Well, actually, so am I. We're about 2 hours north of Toronto, so you never know. Sometimes it gets a bit spotty out here in the country, but I totally get it. So, but no, it's just been so awesome talking to you. Can't wait to read the third book. Absolutely loved the first two books. Really had a great time. Looking forward to see where you're taking your writing. Obviously, wishing you nothing but the best of success. Go forward.
Thank you very much.
It's
actually. Oh,
sorry.
I've got art copies available for the third if people are interested.
Oh, that's great.
I should probably throw that out there.
Do they just go through your website to get the art copies?
Yeah, you can email me. My email, I think, is on my website too. It's just author.trinitycunningham@gmail. So if anyone's interested in an art copy,
fantastic.
Send a message my way.
Well, highly recommended again, right? So this was wonderful. Quickly for me, I'm PL Stewart. All the social media handles are at PL Stewart Writes. This channel, the Draw King Saga, is my YouTube channel. I also do the page touring interview series. My awesome partner, Taylor from Made to Pages, check out her channel. She's a wonderful blogger as well. Draw King Saga, 5 books out now. Most recent book, A Pack of Wolves. 6th book entitled Black Dragon Unread, coming out in a couple of months or less. And then the 7th and final book of the series will come out in 2027. I'm also an assistant editor with Before We Go blog and a contributor with Grim Dark magazine. So that pretty well covers me. The website, plstewart.com. Sorry, I forgot that part. So, but it has been absolutely wonderful having on. Thank you so much, and so generous with your time. I know with your young family, and I probably have to keep them all at bay with mom. They want mom's attention. Mom having to sit down for almost an hour chatting with me. So, but I really appreciate your time. Again, go buy the books. They're fabulous. I really enjoyed reading them. All of Trinity's links as well will be in the video. So if you want to check out our website and check out our books, or follow on social media, that will all be there as well. And Trinity, again, thank you so much for coming. It's just been a joy talk to you, and best of luck with all your writing.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, we'll sign off, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.